All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Lee Velez. I'm here with Goose.
What up?
Heck. And Gabe. Networking. In this episode, the crew discusses the power of networking. We talk about relationship building, socializing versus networking, the benefits of networking, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Sallie Krawcheck and Lewis Howes. All right, if you're new, guys, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. We like to kick things off with a definition from dictionary.com, and we define the word networking. And it defined it as a supportive system of sharing information and services among individuals and groups having a common interest. So I picked up an article or whatever, like a blog post, I guess you would call it. It's a very old post. It's from 2014. But you know how they always say, like success principles are, they are what they are kind of thing. Sure. And across all aspects of life, businesses, services, products, whatever, the application of them is the same. So I guess that's what this one, this kind of is. This website looks a little dated, but I mean the content is good. So we got it from networking1on1.com, and it's titled 10 Benefits of Networking. So I will just go through the bullet points and kind of discuss along the way. So number 1, networking is fun with an exclamation point. There's always someone new to meet at a networking event. There's always someone to talk to, someone to catch up with, someone to talk about things outside of your business. If networking is not fun for you, you're doing it wrong. Yeah,
networking should be fun.
I think it should be fun. Yeah. I think there's also to an extent you should be having fun. I'm not trying to be like Debbie Downer here, but like if you're just there to party, then you also defeated the purpose.
Right.
If you're there not to have fun, you also defeated the purpose because you don't want to make it like it's an obligation. Of course, it's something that you should be doing for your business or for your brand or whatever it is. But if you're going to do it, I always say, like, have fun doing it. Yeah. What's the point of being miserable? And here's the thing. Like, you're networking for your passion, right? Sure. Mm-hmm. So I understand when people are like, oh, I don't like networking events because of X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Fair enough. That's because you're at networking events that you're forced to go to.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. That's the big difference. Now, if we're going to networking events that we enjoy and we, like the topics, I should say, and we're there for the reasons we want to be there for. Yes. For example, Goose, you're a barber, right? If you go to barber conventions, which I know you do, it's not that you're not having fun. You're even if not for nothing, but even if the convention wasn't good, like it was poorly ran and they had awful training sessions or whatever, you're still gonna enjoy it. You're still gonna grab something out of it because it's what you love. It's what you're passionate about. Yeah. Right. So one thing I learned a long time ago is like anytime you go anywhere, right? When it has to do with your business and you and your growth, there's always one thing you can learn. Yeah. Right? Absolutely. And if you go in there with an attitude like, I'm going to have fun with this, I'm not saying let's have fun and ruin all the learning aspects, but have fun with this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's when life becomes, the satisfying, fulfilling, portion of it that you want. All right, cool. So number 2, they have networking promotes knowledge sharing. Whether you're networking with someone in the same field of business that you're in or someone who is a prospect for your goods or services, everyone benefits from knowledge sharing. You can learn of the next big thing in business apps or of a potential career opening in businesses you have your eye on. People love to talk, and news, good or bad, travels fast. So networking events are a perfect vehicle for sharing knowledge. Just make sure your facts before you repeat what you heard.
That's definitely a big thing. People hear something, they run with it, and then it's like half of the information. So then you're like, so whoever they're saying it to is getting all confused about it. Yeah. So knowing your facts is definitely key.
Well, yeah, you do your research after you hear the information that's given to you.
Yeah.
To make sure you're sharing
the information properly, even if like you
properly.
fully understand what you just took in.
Sure, and you gotta okay. So with these events and these networking events, you have to use what's applicable to you, right?
Yeah.
So you can't be talking about like if you're a barber who's just getting into beard sculpting, let's just say, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna go the next day and teach a class, right?
No,
just because off that, that's just nonsense, right?
Yeah.
So and then here's the other thing, so when it comes to competition and your competitors, even whether friendly or not, right? You want to stay ahead of the curve, and these networking events are the best way because a lot of times the speakers are experts in your field, and they are way ahead of, I guess I would say, like the average, obviously, right? So that leads into a bunch of things. Obviously, they figured something out. They have the money to and the resources to invest even more. So when you see, compared to like the smaller entities or businesses, so when you're at these events, you come back, you could be months ahead of everyone else because now you're getting the information fresh off the press right there that has not yet been shared with the world. That's the reason why these network events and marketing events, that's why they work, because they're about to deliver information that's super useful, and that no one else has, which is why they sell these high ticket prices to these networking events, because what you're going to get out of it, the value you're going to get out of it, the relationships obviously you're going to build, and this this knowledge sharing, that's where it comes into, right? So like, for example, if you're a barber and you have a son or daughter who's very interested in following in your footsteps, the questions they're going to ask and the information you're going to give them are going to be, it's going to set them up way better than if a little boy or girl wanted to be a barber and had no one to, like a mentor, to ask questions, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So knowledge sharing is huge.
Yeah.
They always, the classic line my mommy used to say when we were growing up, you are who you hang out with, kind of thing. So if you're hanging out with a bunch of successful people in your business, when it comes to that, that's the importance of networking, in your given trade. Number 3, networking boosts your profile. The more people you network with, the more people you know.
We had like this networking mixer at the shop,
Yeah.
and it was like we just put it on blast. So like every barber shop, like in the area, like New Jersey, Philadelphia, whatever, and it was a huge success. We had people come from Connecticut. We had people come from all over the place, and these are people, and it was a networking event that we held, and a lot of local barbers got a chance to kind of mix and mingle with like the top barbers in our industry.
Yeah.
That they would never have a chance to talk to or like interact or exchange like information. Like now, these people just seeing them face to face, like one of maybe their idols in the industry, like they look up to. Now they had a chance to talk to them one-on-one. Now they actually linked up, and this high figure to them knows who they are, recognizes them, and now when he's on social media, whatever, he's gonna like their stuff that they're posting and see the progression. And someone in a higher statute and someone that's starting off, you start seeing someone that's starting off and you see someone that's like up in the industry liking their stuff and commenting, you're going to be like, yo, this kid's on the right path.
Yeah.
And it all started from like, dude, they made an interaction and they connected at this mixer.
Yes.
Like, and it's just something small like that. It can become something so big.
Yeah. Yeah, and you gotta understand, like, people want the best. People truly want the best, right?
Yeah.
No one's like, oh, I want the worst haircut ever. You know what I mean? Right. I want the best, right? So if they see, so perfect example when it says it boosts your profile. If you're taking a picture with an elite person in your industry, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Now that's called association. So now you're associated with the best. Mm-hmm. People want the best. Now they're associating you with the best. See how that? So now it's like this little magnet. Like, okay, he cares enough to go to this event because he's trying to better himself or herself, whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, and then like even so when we go to these bigger events like the expos and stuff, I've gone to like so many of them that I start to kind of like hands to like my classes or whatever, whoever I want to kind of see the most. You know what I mean, wherever I'm on my downfall, I go seek like whoever's teaching a class in that like that area. So I get to like kind of like I don't know, boost my. There are a bunch of barbers I look up to, and they're gonna teach a class on scissor work. I'm gonna go to that class. I don't have to see every class, but I'm gonna go to like make it a point to go to that one. And then there are other barbers that like they're there and they actually cut celebrities. So like Rick Ross's barber was there cutting Rick Ross at this competition, at this event. And dude, I got a chance to interact and mingle with them. You take pictures with these people and they're like, that's the dude behind Rick Ross's image.
Yeah.
So like if the same thing like I've cut in like some of the wrestlers, like people don't know what goes behind like stars.
You're saying wrestlers, you're saying
WWE wrestlers, yeah. So then when you post an image with these celebrities or whatever, and then that's like there's other barbers that want to be there. So I'll get inbox like, how did you do that? How did you get there? Blah blah blah. So it's like, dude, every which way with social media is like you're networking regardless what you put out. It's like some kind of form of networking.
Yeah.
With social media.
Yeah, definitely. Social media put us on a whole other level with associations,
interconnectivity.
And yes, this it's a good thing. Anyway, number 4, networking strengthens connections. Networking is like the World Wide Web. There are so many connections to be made, and our many friends and colleagues are connected in various ways. For example, because my friend Julie knows Jeff, Jordan, and Jamie, that puts me in contact with Jeff, Jordan, and Amy. Yeah, so it just goes, number 4 clearly is like networking strengthens connections. It just goes up to what we were just saying.
And it kind of goes to what we were saying, like, I have a different network than you have expanded.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, you're tangentially affiliated with anybody I'm connected to just because of social media or whatever, any affiliated friends or potentially extra parts of your network.
Right, and it goes back to, what we're saying when you take a picture with a guru or, one of the elite in your industry, you associate yourself with them because you're like, wow, I admire this person for X, Y, and Z. But now they're associating with you because they're willing to take the picture and smile or whatever, right?
At the same event too.
So like, all of their following, let's say they have 100,000 followers, are now looking at, well, who's he associating himself with? Yeah. Because the same is true the other way.
Yeah.
Right? So they're like, okay, that guy must be important if he's associating with this elite person, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So now who in the world is Jimmy Lee? Or who in the world is Miguel, right? So they're going to associate them like, dang, like, he associated with X, Y, and Z. That's crazy. And we see a lot of this in the music industry.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hold on, Scott Storch is making music with X, Y, and Z? That's crazy, right? Or whatever. You see it in features and,
absolutely.
It's just... It gets, it blows up and it goes to another level, but it's like features in the music industry come with all these things, right? So it's like to have a Drake or, like a high level musician or whatever, it costs so much money. Sure. So you already know if Drake is featured on something, and Drake's not featured on a lot, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous. But when they first start out, they're featured in everything.
Sure.
Right? And then so that you build your way up. So now he built himself up to such a high value. I'm literally watching who he's associating with. Sure. Mm-hmm. Because those must be high value people.
Yeah.
Right? So if it costs $500,000, $500,000 just for him to be in a feature.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like clearly not everyone can afford that. You know what I mean? Like that's more than people's album budget, period. Sure. Let alone one feature, which is one song, right? Although it could be a hit, and then that's like the trade-off.
And then you get him on somebody who's up and coming, and then like and then that's when they potentially might blow up and
right. And I've seen that happen. And then some features I'm shocked at. I'm like, did this person have that much? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or is this superstar willing to help out? The up and coming?
Yeah, absolutely.
So. That's when it gets like real cool. Like when you see someone to that caliber reaching out to like the younger, generation. Like, you know what? Yes, I do charge blah blah blah, but for this special, you know what I mean? This occasion, I'm gonna do something different. Let me donate my time. Whatever.
Sure, absolutely.
But anyway, number 5, networking spawns fresh ideas. You've heard the expression, 2 heads are better than one. Multiply that by the number of people in your personal network. You'll never be lost for ideas again when you realize how many minds you may have. This is kind of what you're saying, like, you attend the classes or whatever that, where you're most weak at, I guess. Yeah. But there's secrets out there, right? There's certain things in the industry, whatever industry that you're in, that is working for the most successful people. What are they? Obviously not everyone knows them, because then everyone would be that successful. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's when these little things, of fresh ideas, like, oh, their approach is different.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. Maybe I should be doing that. Yeah. It comes as simple as, I was talking to a marketing guy, and he was telling me to drop my location anytime I'm at an event.
Okay.
So then people can find you, and maybe they'll show up at that event, even though you've been promoting it. Sometimes that trigger something like, oh, that's only like 10 minutes away, I'm just gonna swing by. And you gain that one person without even you know what I'm saying. That's cool. And it was that one idea I would never thought of, right? But now you're tapping into someone who's an expert, and this is what they do all day, every day, and they're good at it. Of course, yes, you're gonna be blessed with all these fresh ideas. And that's that goes the same with your network. Number 6, networking keeps you in the know. Never fear that you don't have the latest information. Your network will make sure that you never need to worry about missing a newspaper or a news story, whether it's local or global. Someone always knows what's going on, even before you have to ask. This reminds me of our family text, the Team VC text.
Yeah.
You literally do not need to know the news. Like, you don't have to, whatever. It's already before it even hits, the television at 5 o'clock. We already have a million details of more than you would ever care for through, in a good way. It's just funny, but it's almost like it's our own little social network. Media, it's our own little social media. We're posting pictures, sending stuff. Like, it's funny how fast information travels now, and news. So that is crazy. I mean, we here at my house, we don't watch the news per se, but social media keeps you updated real quick.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple outlets that you can just follow them, and they just give you the meat of what's going on, and that's all you need. There's no garbage in between, and they just give you the facts. They don't give you their opinion.
Sure.
Right.
This happened in X, Y, and Z. Right now, there's a California wildfire. Blah, 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 and that's it. They're just giving you it's like boom, 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 headline, basically. Headliners. Boom.
Just enough.
Yeah. Where it just kind of keeps you in know, like, okay, cool. But yeah, definitely. So number 7, networking generates referrals. There are networking groups dedicated to the business of passing referrals. But even if that's not the sole purpose of your networking group, make sure you're known as an expert in your field. Attend events regularly and talk about your business, your skills, and your achievements so other networkers remember that you are the go-to person when they're looking for someone in your field of expertise. Yeah, definitely. Especially referrals, like this whole referral thing. This has happened. This has spawned out into like absolute craziness with the Blessed Lifestyle brand. I'm connecting with people I've never in my never thought I would eventually connect with. Yeah. Or people have come out of the woodworks who have talents or knowledge that I didn't even know they had, and I've known them.
Yeah.
Right. So isn't that something interesting? Where sometimes I'm not going to deliver this knowledge unless you can use it or if it's even applicable to you, right? There's stuff that I know that I don't say in every conversation that I have. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's people that I interact with that are somewhat part of my network, but they have no idea of some of the the information I know, and vice versa, right? But then all of a sudden you start talking in their language, and some information starts becoming like released. It's always fascinating to me, man. Yeah. You learn some interesting things about people. All right, cool. So number 8, networking builds friendships. Let's face it, entrepreneurs are a friendly, caring bunch, and some of the people you network with are your best friends, people you enjoy spending time with, and people you can count on to be there when you need them. People with similar interests tend to become friends, and those friendships are strengthening at networking events. Yeah, I mean, of course you're expanding your tribe just as much as your knowledge. So that makes sense. Number 9, networking highlights your expert. Along the same line of thought as number 7, when you attend networking events regularly, your name becomes more and more well known. People may tag your name with a profession, so you're called as Joe the plumber or Helen of social media expert. Your name becomes synonymous with your business, and that's a good thing. I agree. Especially when you want to be that expert, and people constantly see you doing things in that field. They're just gonna. It's just a natural thing. Sometimes you don't even have to say it. It's even just with Instagram. It's just the pictures that you're posting is almost that little story it's telling about who you really are, right? In a sense. But if I keep posting stuff about inspiring, motivational things, that's going to keep leaning people towards, okay, that's his thing.
Yes.
So if I say, I can, I'm a speaker, right? I have my own podcast and we talk about positive, uplifting things. And then I'm on social media just with a bunch of negative trash, constantly posting negative trash. I will not be associated with a person as a good source of information when it comes to motivation or uplifting positive things.
Yeah, because obviously the two things don't add up together.
Right. But social media, it's that double-edged sword. But this is one of those things where you can really, quote, highlight your expertise. A lot of people are out there fake it to make it kind of thing. But this is a totally different platform. This is a totally different era and generation that we live in now. That if you use it right, you could take advantage of this and truly become what you've always wanted to become based off the familiarity of your association and what you're doing based off a bunch of pictures. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, it's wild. So if used right, man, literally the world is yours. Number 10, networking helps build a support system. You never have to reach out for the yellow pages when looking for a tradesman, a business, and or a product. Your connections are all you need. Looking to have a tree chopped down? You met your local tree doctor at the event a couple of weeks ago. You can turn to your network for an opinion on the best gym to join, for the bank with the best interest rates on a mortgage loan, for recommendations on a new car, and when you need to hire someone to take care of your accounts. Word of mouth is a powerful support system, and you'll learn to rely on the referrals of your network. Oh, absolutely. Because, again, this goes back into that association with the expert taking a picture with you. Now you tapped into all their resources to some level, right? So even if it's that one person. So it's like, oh, Gabe knows me, right? And I know, a photographer or whatever, and you don't know a photographer. Me and you didn't meet to know a photographer, right? You didn't ask me, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But
exactly.
I know a photographer, and something came up. I'm part of your network. I'm like, oh, I know a guy.
Yes, and there's a lot more. You're more willing to go with that person because you already trust and respect the person who's referring you to that person.
Yes. So that goes back to the whole reputation thing.
Yes.
Do you have a good or bad reputation? So if you had a bad reputation, the recommendations that you're making, more than likely no one's going to be taking.
You're going to take it and run in the opposite direction with that.
Right. So that really does go both ways. I mean, it's who you are.
Yeah.
Like 2 episodes ago, we talked about your brand. And if your brand means and stands for something good, people will respect that and obviously approach you for certain things, right? If you're and people will go to you for your expertise, but if they know your network is vast, they'll also go to you to see if you know someone, right?
Yes.
And that could get in these little like intricate weird things, but that person respects you enough, even though they know that's not your thing. He has to know somebody, and if he even knows the slightest person, I'm going with it because my reputation is X, Y, and Z. All right, so cool. Great article from networking101.com titled 10 Benefits of Networking. All right, so I'll ask you guys, is networking the same as socializing?
well, there's an aspect of socializing within networking now.
Yeah.
But it depends on how. Like I think you once said earlier, it's like if you only go in there to socialize, then I guess you're missing some portion of it.
The too much fun part.
Yes, you have to have some balance of quote unquote business with fun. I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, because now you're just at a party.
Yeah,
That's the difference. Socializing, networking. I'm not saying that you have to have an absolute agenda, right? But you have to be going there for something like you're trying to get something. Yes. And I'm not talking about someone's phone number or a significant other, right? Yeah. I'm talking about something tangible for your product or service or for whatever, your career, your mindset, whatever. You're out there looking for something.
Yeah.
Socializing, it's like you get it, whether you get it or not, you're just trying to have, you want to have fun. You want to have great conversation, a great time, whatever it is. Whereas, yes, I want to have fun at a networking event, but I'm there for a reason. I want to get something out of it, whether it's information, another business card, extend my network a little bit more, make myself a household brand name, display my expertise. Yes. There's all these kinds of things.
Yeah, you just got to take advantage of socializing for the purpose.
Yes. Right. Exactly.
Well, you can't expand your network if you just stand in the corner in the back of the convention.
Yeah.
By yourself.
Or you are, explaining to everyone who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a long time ago, I don't even know where it was. I don't know if it was one of Donald Trump's books, actually, that I read well beyond him and, being president or whatever. But we live in a town called Levittown, Pennsylvania. Okay? There's a Levittown, New York, Levittown, Puerto Rico, and there may or may not be another Levittown. But anyway, he designed these houses in a very cookie cutter way, and made a mass killing in financially in the 50s or whatever, and moving right along into like the 60s or whatever. And he became a real estate guru. I mean, like, he was the man to go. He went out, he did something no one else did. He was basically trying to build these utopian towns where they were self-sufficient. You didn't have, because you're thinking, you're coming off, the era where, farmlands and all that stuff and self-preservation, all that stuff was done on your own. Yeah. Whereas now supermarkets were becoming something, you know what I mean? Gas stations, schools were expanding, the education system, I should say, all kinds of things, right? And his approach was having all those things within your own little town, and then have these little sections of this town compete against each other in a friendly competition, whether it's basketball, baseball, in sports. So he had this concept that was basically, you didn't even have to leave Levittown. Levittown has everything you ever wanted, from car dealerships to grocery shopping to shopping for just fun clothes and whatever you wanted to do. They had ice cream parlors and restaurants, whatever you wanted. It's like, we don't even have to leave. Because prior to that, you had to go all the way up to the city.
Yeah.
Down the city, up the city, where, depending on your location, you're either going to Philadelphia or New York, right? So that's where, and then even Levittown in New York is getting out of the city, kind of same thing, concept as this Levittown in PA is getting out of the Philadelphia portion of the city or whatever. But anyway, fast forward, I guess it was like the early 90s, and Mr. Levitt, I guess, went to one of these networking events that Donald Trump was, a part of, who now was he was one of the young guys making a name for himself. Okay. And he said, Mr. Levitt, he went to previous networking events where Mr. Levitt was the speaker, right? And he had droves of people surrounding him, asking him all these questions, taking pictures with him. This guy was like celebrity-like in the real estate industry, right? So fast forward is like, 30 years or something. And he's sitting in the corner of this networking event and no one around him. Just look disheveled, just mentally drained, just out of it. And I believe he said he might have even been bankrupt at the time. Oh, wow. So how do you go from the top of the game to, the lowest of the game, and you're still networking? The thing that I like about the story is that the guy was still showing his face. Yeah. Right? Because a lot of people were just like, oh man, forget this. Just, you want to go in hiding almost. Sure. But he was still showing up for the event. and basically saying this is your brand. Your brand was something of the best, like, you know, considered up there with, like, you know, Nike and you know, and whatever the biggest, you know, companies of that time were. That's who we're associating your level of expertise when it comes to real estate. And now here you are, no one's even following you, no one wants to take a picture with you. How do you get from one thing to another? Right? I don't know the answer to that. But we were saying, like, oh, you are showing your brand how you show up to these networking events. Sure. So if your head's down, tail between your legs, the credit that I'll give you is that you did show up. Yeah. But also, you must question, like, why did you show up, though? If you're going to show up like this, like a beaten down dog, I mean, it's like, were you seeking something? That always makes me question, were you seeking hope? Were you seeking,
maybe
pity?
Something that rekindles, like, I guess, the passion you had before or something.
It could be. So that's why I always left that story still as an open-ended thing to me, because you don't know what his intentions actually were.
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, yeah. So where you go and when you go to these events, all eyes are watching. Whether the people are asking you questions or you're asking other people questions, people are still watching. You know, they always say, like, you have one time to make a first impression. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like one of those things. So, and I remember Goose. I remember you telling me, Romeo, one of your barbers, when he first started at, you know, the previous location, the way he showed up, because I believe a seat opened up at the barbershop, the way he showed up versus the way someone else showed up for the first day of, I guess, proving themselves that they can cut hair. I don't even know how you guys, you know, word it. But it was basically like this, you know, just trial period where it's like, all right, let me see your skills. Let me see how you interact with the customers, blah, blah, blah. And one guy showed up with nothing, literally nothing, and just borrowed a bunch of stuff. And, you know, that'll make you question, like, are you really a barber? Yeah. And then Romeo shows up with, like, a briefcase, popped it open, and had all the tools that he needed, self-sufficient, and was cutting hair, you know, and made that impression. Where he's still now, you know, a barber.
Yeah, no, he came in with like a big, like, DJ case, like for like mixers and stuff. He had a big case and he just had like a bunch of his. It was like, because before he started working at the barbershop, he was like he would just travel around from house to house, like, do his friends, family, whatever. So he just found this case, I don't know where the heck, and just had this thing full of just tools. Like, it was, and we've never seen it. We always, like, this is before we started doing, like, competitions and started, like, actually going to these events that we're talking about. Yeah. So, but now they actually have cases built for, like, the barber. But he had that before its time.
Yeah.
There's a big old box just full of stuff.
But how long ago was that?
Yeah, at least 15 years ago. Wow.
That made an impression on me, and I'm not a barber. I'm not nothing. I just remembered that story. Well, me and Goose at the time were having a conversation, and we're talking about it, and that always stuck with me. Obviously, it just it was the first thing that popped in my head.
Well, it's just showing how, like, prepared you were too. Like, I've seen some people come in, they had a book bag, and they had all their tools thrown in there. Some of the tools are kind of expensive. It gets chipped up, and, like, so that shows he didn't care. That person really, to me, that person didn't care about their tools, so they're just throwing it in a bag. So who knows how their performance is? Do they care? You know what I mean? Like,
if they do a good job,
yeah,
the
exactly.
tools might not be up to par.
Exactly. So if you take care of what you have, you invested in, of course you're going to take care of your client or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, cool. Do you guys network? Do you guys go to networking events?
I do for work. I go at least once a year, twice a year to have different events for for basically different products to come out. They want us to test and try out or whatever, and sometimes it could be software, it could be hardware. So, and then we're, you know, talking to the actual people from the
suppliers.
The suppliers, yeah. We actually talk to them and see what, you know, get a little more in depth with it to find out. I mean, there's times I'll come into work in the morning and I'll have like multiple phone calls, like voicemails or emails from different vendors and stuff like that, saying, you know, we're looking to try to get the state in with us now, like to sell their product to us and stuff like that. So,
right.
So I go just to, it benefits me. I learn more about it, and I also have to bring it into my job and show my bosses, you know, what I learned and what what else? What's new out there, like technology wise and stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. So we have those, at my particular employer as well, and it's very true when they say that you're staying on the cutting edge of information, because you got to think, like, we're so caught up in doing what we do, right, that it's hard to stay fully our attention fully on what's the next big thing.
Yeah.
When you have companies that this is all they focus on, someone who just makes clippers or just makes edgers or whatever, they focus on one thing, or just makes scissors, or just whatever. They just focus on just that, and then they come and explain it or do a small little demonstration. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Because you can, the vast, how great the internet is, you get lost in the sauce, and you're like, well, what's really good?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If for us, just even here, like the type of products that we're using for our use to produce this podcast, it started off at going to like our website and saying, what are they using?
Yeah, exactly.
To do a podcast. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I can do that, or should I just try to figure it out myself? No, you want to just go straight to like someone who's already doing it or knows what's the best. So networking in that sense already is like, the benefits are priceless. So do you guys find networking to be easy, or how is it with you? I mean, I know for me it's never quote easy. Even when I'm there for something that I want to be there for. Yeah. But I think after, it depends on the networking event too, because I've been to someone where they purposely do, like icebreakers and stuff like that. Yeah. So
put in like little groups, and you have to interact with each other.
Yeah. It's like that forced whatever, and then that's good though, because then it gets things going.
Sure.
I know for me, I try to crack a joke. I try to make somebody laugh or something, or make fun of myself basically, or it's like, oh man, whatever the joke is going to be. And for me, that's my icebreaker. That's always my icebreaker.
No, that's the guard down, and
yeah. And then all of a sudden, I just start asking them questions or whatever, and they start asking me questions, and then you just keep it moving. Whether that turns into something or it doesn't, that gets you in the groove, and you're just like, then the next class is starting, blah blah blah, and you just kind of keep it moving. And you need to spark those conversations. Listen, you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know who they know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, you learn a lot from people. Like, to the one time I went to this class, and there was this barber I follow on social media. Dude, his haircuts are on point, and all his whole, like, he went to barbershop, and his whole page is just like his work. And I went to a class where everyone's like interacting and talking. And this dude wouldn't say anything. He wasn't talking. Like, why? What's he like? Does he think in my mind, I'm like, does he think he's too good? Or does he not understand it? Or does he not want to be here? So at the end of the class, started, like, everyone kind of just, like, mixing and mingling or whatever. So he came up to me and he said, hey, ¿cómo está? He started talking to me in Spanish. He knew no English. So he wasn't trying to talk to no one. There was like very few Spanish people in the class, and he knew who I was, and he just came up and he felt comfortable, so he started talking to me in Spanish. So we kind of like linked up that way right there. But it was like funny because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, not that I was judging him.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this dude, he's really talented. He has a huge following, and like, he's not interacting like I thought he would be.
Right,
you know what I mean? Because his social media is like, boom, he's on fire.
He has a presence.
Yes, and I'm like,
there physically he had no presence.
Yeah, and I've only, and his, obviously, his social media, you only see him like every once in a while, like self pictures and stuff. Dude, and I was like, this is so crazy. And then finally at the end, when I got to like link up with him, it was like, he really doesn't really speak English, so I feel like that's
barrier.
That's his. Oh, I guess he feels uncomfortable, like in front of a lot of people. They don't know how to speak English because it's a heavy accent. It is hard, and it is hard to understand. But it was like so crazy. So you get to actually, if I had not gone to that class, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't, you know what I mean? Yeah. I wouldn't know how this guy really is. And now we link up, we talk all the time. But it's like, it's so just that out of that one class, that's like one of the big things I picked up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it had nothing to do with the actual teaching of the class. You know what I mean? It was more, I took more of this guy than what actually happened in the class.
It goes back to what I was saying about, Mr. Levitt. You got to give this guy, this barber, credit for showing up, knowing dang well he couldn't communicate probably with 95% of the people there because there's a language barrier.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if anything, that would just make me respect the guy even more. Yeah. So not only is this awkward, but I can't understand you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I still showed up and tried to, network on to some level.
But I see so how many people thought the same thing, like, oh, he just doesn't want to interact with anybody.
Yeah.
And prejudged him, not knowing.
Yeah. So for me to crack the joke, like going back, I would have probably worn a shirt as like minimal English or something like that, or like
Speak English.
yeah, would have, and that would have been like my listen. I don't talk a lot of English, and like make a joke out of it. But that's me.
Sure.
Like that was the first thing that popped in my head.
Yeah.
Like not everyone obviously thinks like that, or is their approach.
Because nobody wants to bring that attention to themselves.
True.
Or there's some people that go to these social event or the networking events just to eat, because we have some.
Yeah,
I have some. Not I don't have some people, but I've known some people that just go to get all the freebie samples and then go have lunch, and then after lunch you don't see them ever again.
They're not networking.
Yeah, but you guys,
right.
your company pays for you guys to go there.
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
ours we actually pay to go there, so everyone, and it's a pretty penny.
So
So,
there's
you're there for the food, but you're definitely trying to get something out of it.
So it's two different incentives. there.
Yeah.
For sure. But what goes back to
your
goes to
purpose
the
is,
question. The next question was: Is networking? Can networking be a waste of time?
Absolutely.
So, in my opinion, it depends.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. So, like, for example, I don't even know if even at this level, I still don't think it'd be a waste of time. But if I am in the personal development industry and I show up to I don't know, like a dance class or dance networking event, it's like, what is going on? This doesn't match what I came here to do.
Sure.
And I just talk about getting lost in the sauce. You're just lost in the sauce. So it's just like, all right,
Yeah.
this is what it is. But then we know the value of that lesson is priceless.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know if it's a complete waste of time because, like I said, you can get something out of it still.
But sometimes, even if you're in the wrong environment, there could be a random, like you said, you don't know who's going to be there, who might be also in the same situation. You might have a random link up based on that.
Yeah, you never know.
I was at the Lainey at Nova's gymnastics today, and Lainey goes, "Dad, that girl got the same sticker on her phone like you do." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Dino's blessed thing." And I'm like, I'm looking, and it's one of the girls, one of the cheerleaders from when you spoke the other day at Bristol High. So she's on their cheerleading squad, and she had it on her back of her phone. And I was wondering why she kept staring at me. She was looking at the hat. She kept looking at the hat, like, really, I guess, trying to put two and two together. And Lainey's like, "Dad, she keeps looking over here."
That's awesome.
And I guess she was trying to, like, associating everything with, like, how we were over at Bristol High, whatever.
That's
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. She had just like how I have mine. She had it just like that on her back of her phone.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
so random.
That's wild. Like you just don't know like the impact you think you have.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
dang. And it was funny. There's stickers for certain things, and I goofed and grabbed. Obviously, I grabbed different ones that I wanted to whatever. But I'm like, I'm not gonna make this. I'm gonna still try to make use of this, and I hand it out, whatever. But and someone's and we were and someone actually using it and like
Putting
it on their phone. That's something you see every single day.
Yeah.
For me, I'm so small business wise when it comes that little stuff is like the biggest thing, the biggest deal to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that's so dope.
Yeah.
I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, I'm not going to make this episode about Bless, but it is amazing when you see, things. But even that network, our network expanded, right? Just out of that experience. And we were talking to a high school group of kids, right? And then you see like, oh, and then they're associating like, that guy, that guy looks familiar, and his brother spoke at our, like, or whatever. That is super cool. All right. So the last question, I think it's a really good question. Before we close out here, do we need to network even if we are already established in our careers?
Absolutely. It's always good to learn more, to get more information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, it's like he spoke to earlier. It's like you get better at what you already do. You expand your network beyond like your personal reach that you have, even within like, your own social networks, by meeting other new people, and you might expand it beyond there. And like
and business is ever growing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because you're established today doesn't mean you're going to be established in a year from now.
Right.
Right. Things can change. I know. Rankings, website rankings, like search engine optimization, SEO, how you get ranked on Google or these, other search websites is totally different of how you got ranked 2 years ago. So if you're an established business and you're getting ranked regularly on the first page of Google by using a technique from a year ago, they literally every year now change. It might be even sooner, but let's just say every year they change their rules of ranking.
Sure.
And basically give everyone a fair chance. Because obviously big business is always going to, the more money they have, they can just keep paying people to, do these things.
Of course.
So they have like white hat tactics, they call them, and black hat tactics. Black hat is like kind of like you're kind of going through the back door to get ranked in like a cheating kind of way.
A little more shadier, I guess.
Yeah, and so that's what they're closing out on.
And they filter out some of that stuff.
Right, so if you're an established business based off your black hat tricks, eventually you're going to be flushed out.
Yeah.
Right? So even if you are established, going to networking events is essential. Because what if there's that rule or that new change that's coming into a play that you had no idea that was coming if you didn't show up at this networking event? Because like I said, when you go to these things, a lot of them are cutting edge information. And you want to stay on top of that, especially if you want to become and you want to be known as an expert in your field. You can't tell me that you're the expert in your field and you never show up or you're never continuing your growth.
And you don't know the new next big policy that's coming out that dramatically change how your business runs.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. All right, so there you have it, folks. We're going to close things out with a quote, and the first one is by Sallie Krawcheck, and she says, "Networking has been cited as the #1 unwritten rule of success in business. Who you know really impacts what you know." And the second one is by Lewis Howes. "One of the most powerful networking practices is to provide immediate value to a new connection. This means the moment you identify a way to help someone, take action." Huge value there. All right, so there you have it, networking. In this episode, the crew discusses the power of networking. We talk about relationship building, socializing versus networking, the benefits of networking, and much more. We wrap the episodes up with quotes from Sallie Krawcheck and Lewis Howes. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyLeeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyLeeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.